Valletta is the capital city of Malta, colloquially known as Il Belt in Maltese. Geographically, it is located in the southeastern region, in the central-eastern portion of the main island of Malta, having its western coast with access to the Marsamxett Harbour and its eastern coast and the Grand Harbour. The historical city has a population of 6,444, as of March 2014, while the metropolitan area around it has a population of 393,938. Valletta is the southernmost capital of Europe and the second southernmost capital of the European Union after Nicosia. Valletta contains buildings from the 16th century onwards, built during the rule of the Order of St. John, also known as Knights Hospitaller. The city is essentially Baroque in character, with elements of Mannerist, neoclassical and modern architecture in selected areas, though the Second World War left major scars on the city, particularly the destruction of the Royal Opera House. The city of Valletta was officially recognized as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1980. The official name given by the Order of St. John was Humilimus Civitas Valletta, the most humble city of Valletta, or Città Umilissima in Italian. The city's fortifications, consisting of bastions, curtains and cavaliers, along with the beauty of its Baroque palaces, gardens and churches, led the ruling houses of Europe to give the city its nickname Superbima, most proud. Order of St. John. The building of a city on the Sybaris Peninsula, originally called Zagreia Muija, had been proposed by the Order of St. John as early as 1524. Back then, the only building on the peninsula was a small watchtower dedicated to Erasmus of Formia, St. Elmo, which had been built in 1488. In 1552, the watchtower was demolished and the larger Fort St. Elmo was built in its place. In the Great Siege of 1565, Fort St. Elmo fell to the Ottomans, but the order eventually won the siege with the help of Spanish reinforcements. The victorious Grand Master, Jean de Vallette, immediately set out to build a new fortified city on the Sybaris Peninsula to fortify the order's position in Malta and bind the knights to the island. The city took his name and was called La Valletta. The Grand Master asked the European kings and princes for help, and he received a lot of assistance, due to the increased fame of the order after their victory in the Great Siege. Pope Pius V sent his military architect, Francesco Lipperli, to design the new city, while Philip II of Spain sent substantial monetary aid. The foundation stone of the city was laid by Grand Master de Vallette on March 28, 1566. He placed the first stone in what later became Our Lady of Victory's Church. In his book Della Storia della Sacra Religione et Illustrissima Militia di San Giovanni Gerasolimitano, English, The History of the Sacred Religion and Illustrious Militia of St. John of Jerusalem, written between 1594 and 1602, Giacomo Bosio writes that when the cornerstone of Valletta was placed, a group of Maltese elders said, Egiziman en fel wardia calcibra rabbi esuqui, which in modern Maltese reads, Gizmian li fil wardija, elgja cyberas, kolzyber rabajiswa ukija, and in English, there will come a time when every piece of land on Sybaris Hill will be worth its weight in gold. De Vallette died from a stroke on August 21, 1568 at age 74 and never saw the completion of his city. Originally interred in the Church of Our Lady of the Victories, his remains now rest in St. John's Co-Cathedral among the tombs of other Grand Masters of the Knights of Malta. Francesco Lipperli was the city's principal designer, and his plan departed from medieval Maltese architecture, which exhibited irregular winding streets and alleys. He designed the new city on a rectangular grid plan, and without any collatio, an area restricted for important buildings. The streets were designed to be wide and straight, beginning centrally from the city gate and ending at Fort St. Elmo, which was rebuilt, overlooking the Mediterranean. Certain bastions were built 47 meters, 154 feet, tall. His assistant was the Maltese architect Girolamo Casser, later oversaw the construction of the city himself after Leperli's death in 1570. The Ufficio del Case regulated the building of the city as a planning authority. The city of Valletta was mostly complete by the early 1570s, and it became the capital on March 18, 1571 when Grand Master Pier de Monti moved from his seat at Fort St. Angelo in Burgoo to the Grand Master's Palace in Valletta. 7 auberges were built for the orders Langs, and these were complete by the 1580s. An 8th auberge, Auberge de Bavir, was later added in the 18th century. In Antoine de Paul's reign, it was decided to build more fortifications to protect Valletta, and these were named the Floriano lines after the architect who designed them, Pietro Paolo Floriani of Macerata. 14. During Antonio Manuel de Vilhana's reign, a town began to form between the walls of Valletta and the Floriana lines, and this evolved from a suburb of Valletta to Floriana, a town in its own right. In 1749, Muslim slaves plotted to kill Grand Master Pinto and take over Valletta, but the revolt was suppressed before it even started due to their plans leaking out to the order. Later on in his reign, Pinto embellished the city with Baroque architecture, and many important buildings such as Auberge de Castile were remodeled or completely rebuilt in the new architectural style. In 1775, during the reign of Ximenes, an unsuccessful revolt known as the Rising of the Priests occurred in which Fort St. Elmo and St. James Cavalier were taken by rebels, but the revolt was eventually suppressed. French occupation and British rule bombed damage in Valletta during the Second World War. In 1798, the order left the islands and the French occupation of Malta began. After the Maltese rebelled, French troops continued to occupy Valletta and the surrounding harbor area, until they capitulated to the British in September 1800. In the early 19th century, the British Civil Commissioner, Henry Pigot, agreed to demolish the majority of the city's fortifications. The demolition was again proposed in the 1870s and 1880s, but it was never carried out and the fortifications have survived largely intact. Eventually building projects in Valletta resumed under British rule. These projects included widening gates, demolishing and rebuilding structures, widening newer houses over the years, and installing civic projects. The Malta Railway, which linked Valletta to Modena, was officially opened in 1883. It was closed down in 1931 after buses became a popular means of transport. Nazi and fascist air raids throughout the Second World War caused much destruction in Valletta and the rest of the harbor area. The Royal Opera House, constructed at the city entrance in the 19th century, was one of the buildings lost to the raids. Contemporary. In 1980, the 24th Chess Olympiad took place in Valletta. The entire city of Valletta has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1980, along with megalithic temples of Malta and the Hypogam of House Aflani. On November 11, 2015, Valletta hosted the Valletta Summit on Migration, in which European and African leaders discussed the European migrant crisis. After that, on November 27, 2015, the city also hosted part of the Commonwealth Heads of Government Meeting 2015. Valletta has been selected as the European Capital of Culture for 2018. As a result, various projects are underway, including the restoration of historic buildings, the installation of new monuments and the rebuilding of the city entrance.